Today we have a big, exciting, expensive task of swapping all of my reptiles to LumenIZE. So out of my 8 reptiles, 3 of them already have LumenIZE. So Diego was the first leopard gecko to get it, and I did a whole review on that. Rex was actually the first pet, I guess, to experience LumenIZE, as I do work for Arcadia, so I got to get it super early. And then Bruce, as soon as I got Bruce, he had LumenIZE. So now we just have Maui, Minnie and Gizmo, the leopard geckos, Lyra the crested gecko, and Drogo the Chahoua to get LumenIZE. Now, I know what you're thinking, you work for Arcadia, you probably got this all for free. I didn't, I paid for it. Of course, I got staff discount, but you don't just get stuff for free all the time. If you worked at Tesco or New Look or Game or whatever it is here in the UK, you might get your staff discount, but you're not getting handouts all the time, and that's the same here. I have been using LumenIZE for the past few months now, and I really enjoy it. So, I bit the bullet, I paid a lot of money, but I got the lamps. I was gonna do it a few at a time, but then I figured, look, I'm gonna end up changing them all over to LumenIZE. I just as well do it in one go. Now, when I was going through and ordering everything up and all the linking cables, I was initially a bit confused as to how you're going to link these, because you have a Pro T5 link, you have a dual link, you have an LED link, so they are all sold separately and you have to get the right ones. Oh, look at that. That's very nice. So I actually drew out a graphic which has been posted on Arcadia's social medias and stuff like that. This is hopefully a helpful graphic for you to understand how to link these if you have multiple tanks, because you can link 10 of these units all back to one plug, which is really handy. So what you have to do is you get your main Pro T5, this will be in the mains. You link up all your Pro T5s. Once you get to an LED, then you use your dual. Then you link up all your LEDs and you're done. So in the leopard gecko wall, shall we call it, all of the Pro T5s will link, then I'll link over to the LED, and then I'll link back all the LEDs. But I'm sure that'll make more sense in a moment when I actually show you, but let's quickly open one of these up so you know what you're getting with it. So you do get, and obviously you can choose whichever LumenIZE you want, but I wanted the Shade Dweller one because leopard geckos. So this is a unit, and this is a bulb that comes with it. Now, for Lyra, she needs a Shade Dweller Arboreal. So luckily I have one of those bulbs and they can fit in here too. So they don't have the LumenIZE Shade Dweller Arboreal kit available yet, but if you already have a Shade Dweller Arboreal bulb, you can just put that in here, it's the same size. Now I'm going to have the fun task of taking out all the Pro T5s and LED bars I currently have in there, which aren't LumenIZE ones, so they're just your standard ones. Luckily these are all linked, so I can probably just turn them off at one plug, and then we will replace them. We've got our spare LED bars here, which I'm definitely going to keep because they grow plants really well, so I will keep them for sure. So as I said, we're going to have to link all the Pro T5s up first. So we've got one in Diego's tank already, which obviously I have turned off because we don't want power going to it whilst we're trying to link them. This is a Pro T5 linking cable, so you can see it has 2 different ends, so you need to make sure they're matched up properly. So in Diego's one here, you can sort of see it's that D shape. So I'm going to pop that in. All Pro T5s are done. That took me a long time due to my lack of arm length and the size of these tanks. But now this is a dual cable, and I much prefer this attachment. And so this will attach to the LEDs, and then I'm going to link up all the LEDs. Right, the room is now covered in bulbs and wires and all sorts. But if I've connected this correctly, it should all come on now. So now I'm on here, you see Bruce and all of this, but now we've got loads of different LumenIZE that I've just added. Actually, they're not all on here. So one thing I've found, at least with my custom reptile habitat tanks, when the sliders are shut, they're a little bit harder to detect. But if we want to figure out which is which, let's go for this one. I'll press full power test. Now there you go. So that one is Maui's LED, so I'm going to rename that. Okay, everyone's names are set now, and with the leopard geckos, I'm just going to copy Diego's setting to all of them. So just copy device, then I'm going to go to Gizmo's Pro T5, And I'm going to go custom mode 1, paste device. Okay, so the leopard geckos are all sorted. That literally took me like a minute to set the lamps, and we'll come back later to see if they all are part of the cycle and we can see the sunset. And now Drogo and Lyra's are on. Look at Drogo looking at me like, what just happened in here? Also, just a little note about Chahoua. I had to turn his bowl upside down because I need to clean it, because someone, when I gave him a water bowl, decided that's a great toilet. Yeah. So I need to do that in a minute. But now I'm going to set their tank settings. Now, one last thing you want to make sure you do is, if this is the same manual, it's not going to run on this timer. So you want to make sure it says auto. So this is highlighted because that is going to work upon the schedule. If you leave it on manual, your light isn't going to go off. It's just going to be on 100%. So just make sure you do that. One thing I'm super curious about is this prayer plant in Lyra's tank. So when I first got it, I put it under a LumenIZE lamp, and as prayer plants do, it slowly closed as the light faded. But in a regular tank with a light on and off, it takes a few hours for it to eventually close. So it's quite a shock to the system, really. It's light and then suddenly dark. So it'd be cool to see if this starts to close as the lamp fades. It might be hard to tell, but Minnie's out. When I first installed it in Diego's tank, I think it took him a week to get used to the new lighting. Now over here, Rex's tank is completely off. Hello. That's another thing, I don't know if I said, but even when these are linked, you can set each lamp to be completely different if you want. It's just all the leopard geckos, they're from the same place, so they have the same timing. Maui's cryptic basking, but that's kind of quite normal for Maui. Drogo is out and he's basking, which is super interesting because he is a gecko that sometimes comes out and basks, but I've never seen him like, there's the UV, he's just like, yeah, I'm taking it in. So that's really cool to see, and his colour's always changing, his pattern, so he blends in really nicely. You can see in Lyra's tank, the prayer plant has started to raise up, so that's really cool to see. So it's about 5:30 and Diego is out. This is a cool thing about having these lights, is when they get used to them like Diego has, you get to see them all, because when it's at 10%, all of a sudden they start like roaming around, which is so nice to see. Oh, there he goes. I thought what I'd do is answer some of your questions about this product in hopes it will clear up some questions. And I will also say though, there is a website full of information if you want to learn more about LumenIZE. But the first one is, does it still work if your Wi-Fi is down? Yes. You don't actually need Wi-Fi. The only time you need Wi-Fi is to download the app. It works on Bluetooth, so if you don't have any internet, the lamps aren't going to suddenly go off. Someone also asked how I deal with all the cords, because obviously we have all these lamps. We have 8 lamps in total here, and each gecko has a heater. Well, if we go up here, over here is plugged in Minnie's deep heat projector, and this is a fan because I just have a USB fan for the summer just to improve airflow and also a little breeze. I don't usually use it, but for Minnie's tank she only needs technically 1 plug for a heater, because these are all linked. All of these are linked to 1 plug, so actually it's not too bad. The way I designed this reptile room is to have plugs directly behind, so you can see Maui just plugged in there, his heater, so not too bad. And the last question is, will I see my gecko more? So you're not going to suddenly have a crepuscular species like a leopard gecko suddenly active during the day like a bearded dragon, for example. They're not going to be suddenly out and about. But we get to replicate the sunset and sunrise, which are quite pivotal points in a gecko's day. They're most active at dusk and dawn, so replicating that is really cool. Now in my experience, I know my leopard geckos are usually awake from 7 PM onwards, but certainly with Diego, because he's used to having this lamp, when it starts to fade he does come out more, so you do kind of catch him active and up on his background and stuff like that. Now as I said, that's not going to always happen straight away. It can take time for your gecko to get used to it, and I find, at least for my geckos, like Lyra has such like a routine that it's obviously going to take some time for her to adjust that because she's so used to it. But when I get to see her at like dusk and dawn, that would be amazing. Now I'm not really a morning person, so I must admit I do often miss the morning sunrise, but certainly sunset I get to see them a bit more, and just walking around with the light on still, that's really cool. So overall, I'm very happy with my purchase. It was not cheap. You know, I'm not gonna like dress this up like this is something that everyone can just go out and do, especially if you have a lot of reptiles. You might want to do one tank at a time. But I think over time, as the geckos get used to these lamps, we're going to see them a bit more. And maybe I'll have a bit more success growing plants in these tanks again. But certainly, like even in Rex, look at Rex's tank, it is absolutely overgrown. But yeah, I'm really happy with this. Do you think you're going to try it? Let me know in the comments below. But thank you for watching, guys, and goodbye.